Okay. Hi, how are you doing? I was just thinking how awful I look in these pictures, but all right, it's okay. Um okay, so we're going to read the Urantia book. First, I'm going to read to you a little bit of my new daily prayer book, Light the Flame by Andrew Harvey. February 10th reading. May that day come soon, Lord, when after mastering space, the winds, the tides, and gravitation, we harness for you the energies of love. For on that day, Lord, for the second time in the history of the world, we shall discover fire. So that is by Andrew Harvey, inspired by Teilhard de Chardin. So that's really beautiful. Okay. So after we've mastered all of these forces, the winds, the tides, and gravity, and then we can master love. And that's like fire. Then we'll be on fire with love. Okay, that's nice. Okay, good way to start. Okay. Okay, we are reading in our Urantia book. We are reading about the time of the tomb, and the Sabbath day, of course, was Saturday. So that's what we're reading about today, part 3, during the Sabbath day. Throughout this Sabbath day, the disciples and the apostles remained in hiding, while all Jerusalem discussed the death of Jesus on the cross. There were almost 1.5 million Jews present in Jerusalem at this time. It's a lot. Hailing from all parts of the Roman Empire and from Mesopotamia. This was the beginning of the Passover week, and all these pilgrims would be in the city to learn of the resurrection of Jesus and to carry the report back to their homes. Late Saturday night, John Mark summoned the 11 apostles secretly to come to the home of his father, where just before midnight, they all assembled in the same upper chamber where they had partaken of the Last Supper with their master 2 nights previously. Mary, the mother of Jesus, with Ruth and Jude, returned to Bethany to join their family this Saturday evening just before sunset. David Zebedee remained at the home of Nicodemus, where he had arranged for his messengers to assemble early Sunday morning. The women of Galilee, who prepared spices for the further embalming of Jesus' body, tarried at the home of Joseph of Arimathea. We are not able fully to explain just what happened to Jesus of Nazareth during this period of a day and a half when he was supposed to be resting in Joseph's new tomb. Apparently, he died the same natural death on the cross as would any other mortal in the same circumstances. We heard him say, "Father, into your hands I commend my spirit." We do not fully understand the meaning of such a statement, inasmuch as his thought adjuster had long since been personalized and so maintained an existence apart from Jesus' mortal being. The master's personalized adjuster could in no sense be affected by his physical death on the cross. Okay, so when he said that, he said, "Father, into your hands I commend my spirit." He's not talking about his thought adjuster, which has already been fused with his personality. But that's weird. Okay, so how, if it's fused with his personality, then how can it be outside but the personality has to be bigger than just this mortal consciousness. Like our consciousness, it is just the very tip of our personality, I think. So, because we undergo adjuster fusion, but this thought adjuster has been liberated from his body. Earlier at the time of his baptism, it was. Right. The master's personalized adjuster could in no sense be affected by his physical death on the cross. That which Jesus put in the Father's hands for the time being must have been the spirit counterpart of the adjuster's early work in spiritizing the mortal mind so as to provide for the transfer of the transcript of the human experience to the mansion worlds. Okay, so he's putting into the Father's hands just his earthly experience, I think, in his consciousness of his earthly life, which is the transcript of the human experience. Okay. Okay. Right. Transcript. Okay. There must have been some spiritual reality in the experience of Jesus which was analogous to the spirit nature or soul of the faith growing mortals of the spheres. Right. But this is merely our opinion. We do not really know what Jesus commended to his Father. Okay. Okay. Sometimes I don't know how to feel about that when they say, "Oh, I don't know, I'm not sure about." We think this, but we don't really know. It's like sometimes that makes me feel really like insecure. It's like you're supposed to know everything, but it's really very liberating because these eternal mysteries live on and in a way that means that wonder, the feeling of wonder will follow us throughout our existence. There won't be a point where everything is just like, oh, I know everything. And I'm kind of glad about that, really, because then it would be boring. How interesting would life be if you know everything? Not that interesting. Okay. We know that the physical form of the master rested there in Joseph's tomb until about 3 o'clock Sunday morning. But we are wholly uncertain regarding the status of the personality of Jesus during that period of 36 hours. We have sometimes dared to explain these things to ourselves somewhat as follows. 1. The creator consciousness of Michael must have been at large and wholly free in its associated mortal mind of the physical incarnation. Okay, so his creator consciousness, the part of him that knows that this is all his creation, that he made the universe. So that's free of his mortal mind. Okay, the former thought adjuster of Jesus, we know to have been present on earth during this period and in personal command of the assembled celestial hosts. Okay, because the thought adjuster was liberated and it was present during this time. The acquired spirit identity of the man of Nazareth, which was built up during his lifetime in the flesh, first by the direct efforts of his thought adjuster, and later by his own perfect adjustment between the physical necessities and the spiritual requirements of the ideal mortal existence, as it was affected by his never ceasing choice of the Father's will, must have been consigned to the custody of the Paradise Father. Right? The spirit identity of him, of Jesus, was consigned to the custody of the Paradise Father. Whether or not this spirit reality returned to become a part of the resurrected personality, we do not know, but we believe it did. But there are those in the universe who hold that this soul identity of Jesus now reposes in the bosom of the Father, to be subsequently released for leadership of the Nebadon core of the finality in their undisclosed destiny in connection with the uncreated universes of the unorganized realms of outer space. Okay, so there's a little bit of controversy up in heaven about this. Some think that this soul identity is waiting to lead the core finality. Okay. We think the human or mortal consciousness of Jesus slept during these 36 hours. We have reason to believe that the human Jesus knew nothing of what transpired in the universe during this period. To the mortal consciousness, there appeared no lapse of time. The resurrection of life followed the sleep of death as of the same instant. So that's exactly how it is on the Urantia worlds. When we wake up, even if we were sleeping a long time, if we're a sleeping survivor, we wake up like no time has passed. Okay. And this is about all we can place on record regarding the status of Jesus during this period of the tomb. There are a number of correlated facts to which we can allude, although we are hardly competent to undertake their interpretation. Okay, this is so interesting that they're hypothesizing on this, and it also alludes to the idea that our consciousness, or at least Jesus's consciousness, is much more complicated than, it's on, it's off, you're asleep or you're awake or you're alive or you're, that there's parts of him that were sleeping and parts of him that are awake and doing something else in other realms. So that's really interesting. So this consciousness is bigger and more complex, and this is what we're all evolving towards, having part of us doing stuff that maybe part of us is not aware of, but I think we can integrate at will when we're evolved enough, because that's how the Father created everything, by being part of him was asleep or not acting, and then the other part of the Father acted without knowledge of the other part, so that he could observe himself evolving, or consciousness evolving, or something like this. So So I just think that implies that there's a lot about our consciousness that's our own consciousness, even that's beyond our understanding. Um, and there I have that feeling of wonderment again, which I really enjoy. Okay. In the vast court of the resurrection halls of the first mansion world of Satania, there may now be observed a magnificent material Marancha structure known as the Michael Memorial, now bearing the seal of Gabriel. So even though this isn't physical, this is a Marancha level structure, so it's like comprised of energy, but it's a structure nevertheless. The Michael Memorial, bearing the seal of Gabriel. This memorial was created shortly after Michael departed from this world, and it bears this inscription: in commemoration of the mortal transit of Jesus of Nazareth on Urantia. There are records extant which show that during this period, the Supreme Council of Salvington, numbering 100, held an executive meeting on Urantia under the presidency of Gabriel. There are also records showing that the Ancients of Days of Uversa communicated with Michael regarding the status of the universe of Nebadon during this time. Okay. Right. So 100 members of the Supreme Council of Salvington held a meeting to see how's Nebadon getting along, and they're communicating with Michael during this Saturday on the Sabbath day here. So during this time, they're having a council, and they're communicating with Michael, even while he's in the tomb sleeping. We know that at least one message passed between Michael and Emmanuel on Salvington while the master's body lay in the tomb. There is good reason for believing that some personality sat in the seat of Caligastia in the system council of the planetary princes on Jerusalem, not Jerusalem, Jerusalem, which is the capital of Satania, which convened while the body of Jesus rested in the tomb. Some personality sat in the seat of Caligastia. It might have been Jesus, because he's now the acting planetary prince or something like that. The records of Urantia indicate that the constellation father of Norleshadek was on Urantia, and that he received instructions from Michael during this time of the tomb. And there is much other evidence which suggests that not all of the personality of Jesus was asleep and unconscious during this time of apparent physical death. So even though he's dead, he's doing stuff. Okay. That's really interesting. And because normally when you're dead, you know. But there was part of and that was active. His consciousness was active. But it just makes me reflect on how much do we know about our own consciousness and what we're all doing when we're dreaming, or when we're right. So anyway, that's really interesting. It's wonderful. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. You guys have a really great day. Okay. Bye.